Presidency, heads of state and government, members and invited guests, heads of regional economic communities, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Antonio Guterres, all guests who are gathered here. It is an honor and a privilege to welcome you as South Africa to this very first G20 Leaders Summit to be held on African soil. We gather here at the cradle of humanity in Africa to affirm our common humanity. We gather here to affirm the value of partnership and cooperation, to finding common solutions to shared problems. Shortly before the dawn of democracy in South Africa, the father of our democracy, Nelson Mandela, said, "The time has come for South Africa to take up its rightful and responsible place in the community of nations." Today, as we open this G20 Leaders Summit, South Africa is deeply aware of the profound responsibility that membership of the community of nations places upon us. We also understand the responsibility of being entrusted with the presidency of the G20. In the execution of its task as president of the G20, South Africa has, throughout the past year, through its stewardship of some 130 meetings in various parts of South Africa, in other countries on the African continent, and beyond our shores, including at the United Nations, we have sought to undertake this task with care, with dignity, and with diligence. We have sought at all times to preserve the integrity and the stature of the G20, a premier forum of international economic cooperation. From its initial focus on broad macroeconomic issues, the G20 is now engaged on matters such as trade, sustainable development, health, education, science and technology, agriculture, energy, the environment, climate change, and many others. It has therefore broadened its scope as the challenges of the peoples of the world requires that they should be addressed. As the G20 countries, we understand that progress on each and all of these issues is a necessary condition for strong, sustainable, balanced, and inclusive growth. In pursuit of and in conformity with the founding mission of the G20, South Africa adopted the theme Solidarity, Equality, and Sustainability for its presidency in 2025. Through solidarity, we can create an inclusive future that advances the interests of people around the world who are at the greatest risk of being left behind. This is important in an interconnected world where the challenge faced by one nation affects all other nations. By promoting equality, we strive to ensure fair treatment and equal opportunities for the individuals and nations of the world. The disparities in wealth and development within and between nations is not only unjust and unsustainable, it is also one of the greatest impediments to sustainable development. It is essential that we break down divisions of economic status, of gender, of race, and geography. Sustainability involves meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. As a founding member of the G20, South Africa has sought to ensure that the development priorities of the Global South and the African continent find expression firmly and permanently on the agenda of the G20. This is important not only for the people of Africa and the Global South. It is vital for global stability and security, alleviating resource pressures, managing population movements, and reducing the risk of conflict. We seek stability because it attracts investment, it improves planning and reduces the risk of global economic shocks. And we prioritize inclusive and vibrant markets because they are able to drive innovation and efficiency. Thriving economies lift people out of poverty. They encourage greater investment and trade, and they generate the revenue needed to invest in public goods. The threats facing humanity today, from escalating geopolitical tensions, global warming, pandemics, energy and food insecurity, to inequality, unemployment, extreme poverty, and armed conflict, jeopardize our collective future. It is therefore essential that we make greater and faster progress towards the achievement of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. We welcome the Seville Commitment adopted in June this year, which sets forth a renewed global framework for financing for development. We must use this framework to catalyze development investments at scale in developing economy countries. We must continue the reform of the international financial architecture, ensuring that institutions are strengthened and are more inclusive and are equipped to meet the challenges both of the present and the future. At the beginning of our G20 presidency, we identified 4 high-level priorities. Firstly, we focus on action to strengthen disaster resilience and response. While climate-induced natural disasters affect countries around the world, they have a particularly devastating impact on countries that cannot afford the costs of recovery and rebuilding. We have agreed that it is essential for the global community, international finance institutions, development banks, and the private sector to scale up post-disaster construction. Secondly, we agreed that we must take action to ensure debt sustainability for low-income countries. The G20 needs to renew its efforts to advance debt sustainability while at the same time laying emphasis on those countries in the Global South that are suffering from debt repayments. Thirdly, we said we should mobilize finance for a just energy transition, increasing the quality and quantity of climate finance flows to developing economy countries. Fourthly, we emphasized the importance of harnessing critical minerals for inclusive growth and sustainable development through the beneficiation of the minerals at the place of extraction. In addition to these 4 priorities, we have prioritized issues of inclusive economic growth, industrialization, inequality, unemployment, and security and artificial intelligence. Much of the work of the past year will be presented and considered at this meeting. We commend in particular the G20 at 20 review, which provides a detailed account of the path that this organization has traversed as the G20. It describes both our achievements and our challenges and makes proposals on how we can organize ourselves to be more focused on our core mandate. We welcome the work of the G20 Africa Expert Panel, which was led by South Africa's former Minister of Finance, Mr. Trevor Manuel. The panel argues that African efforts to accelerate productive investments require new global partnerships and strong multilateral cooperation. It calls on the G20 to support this effort by building a global policy framework that unlocks long-term finance and lower costs and investment at scale. We are also grateful for the work of the G20 Extraordinary Committee of Independent Experts on Global Inequality that was led by Professor Joseph Stiglitz, a Nobel laureate. The recommendations of the Extraordinary Committee provide a solid platform on which to launch a renewed global effort to tackle inequality. As this is the first G20 Leaders Summit to be held in Africa, it carries the hopes and must reflect the aspirations of the people of this continent and of the world. We should not allow anything to diminish the value, the stature, and the impact of the first African G20 presidency. This G20 Leaders Summit has a responsibility not to allow the integrity and the credibility of the G20 to be weakened. In fact, from this summit, we should have a sense that the G20 has been strengthened. We thank all delegations that have worked together with us in good faith to produce a worthy G20 outcome document for this historic leaders' meeting. The G20 underscores the value of the relevance of multilateralism. It recognizes that the challenges that we face can only be resolved through cooperation, collaboration, and partnership. The adoption of the declaration from the summit sends an important signal to the world that multilateralism can and does deliver. It sends a message of hope and solidarity across the world. It tells the world that as the leaders of the G20, we will keep fast to our solemn pledge to leave no person, no community, and no country behind. With those words, I therefore declare the G20 Leaders Summit open, and thank you. Your Excellencies, please allow me to take you through day one of the program. Session one will focus on inclusive and sustainable economic growth. This session will be followed by presentations of the recommendations of the reports of the Africa Expert Panel and the Extraordinary Committee of Independent Experts on Global Inequality. We will then have a working lunch, and this will be followed by a family photo. And I thank you for your attention and look forward to a fruitful discussion. Now, in discussions with a number of delegations here, there's been overwhelming consensus and agreement that one of the other tasks we should undertake right at the beginning is to execute the task that we have come here for principally, which is by overwhelming consensus to adopt our declaration. Now, I should precede this by remembering what a Roman philosopher called Pliny, the elder, once said. He said to have said, ex Africa semper aliquid novi, meaning out of Africa there is always something new. So something new always does come out of Africa. So with that, we would like, therefore, okay. I'm told that the cameras are still on, they should be off. I don't know why that is so. With that, we would like, therefore, with the consensus that has emerged through the work that has been done over the whole year and the 130 meetings that have been held where each sector has been able to reach agreement, would like, therefore, to put the proposed declaration as the G20 South Africa Summit Leaders' Declaration, to put it forward for your adoption.